Friends, it is time to continue in our reading of the book of Esther. Thank you for joining us as we do so this morning. Let's start off by taking a look at the big board. This is the big board for the expanded edition, the Greek edition of Esther. There is a Hebrew version and there is a Greek version, and the Greek version contains things that are unique, but it contains everything that is in the Hebrew version. With some slight tweaks sometimes. So we're doing a hybrid reading where we're reading the Greek editions from the Common English Bible, a Christian Bible, and we're reading the Hebrew portions from the complete Jewish Bible, a Jewish Hebrew Bible. We are this morning still very early on in chapter 1. We're going to be resuming at chapter 10, verse 10, verse 10 of chapter 1. So we've worked our way through the prologue, which is only in Greek, Mordecai's dream. And now we're here in these opening two chapters. The king is putting on this grand celebration, this grand party, and things are about to go south for the queen. And when things go bad for the queen, this is where Mordecai steps in the Hebrew version for the first time. Not in the Greek, though. Remember, we've had that epilogue. In the Hebrew version, Mordecai is nothing at this point. In the Greek version, Mordecai is already someone of great significance, even before the presentation of Esther. That's coming, the presentation of Esther, and it will be directly out of the fall of the queen. So, friends, chapter 1. I'll be reading from the complete Jewish Bible in the left-hand column, and in the right-hand column you see the text as it is found in the New Revised Standard Version updated edition. Did I say verse 10? I'm confusing myself. Yeah, verse 10. Okay. Pull our timer over where it should be and reset it. And well, I'm doing that. Good morning, Anthony. Good morning, Audrey. Good morning, Mom. Good morning, Don and Linda. Let's read. It's a great little book. 10 chapters. On the 7th day, when the king was in high spirits from the wine, he ordered Mehuman, Bizta, Harvona, Bigta, Avagta, Zetar, and Carcass, the 7 officers who attended him, to bring Queen Vashti before the king with the royal crown, in order to show the people and the officials her beauty, for she was indeed a good-looking woman. But Queen Vashti refused to come at the order of the king, which he had sent through his officers. This enraged the king. His anger blazed inside him. As was the king's custom, he consulted sages well versed in matters of law and justice. With him were Karshna, Shitar, Admata, Tarshish, Maris, Marsna, and Memucan, the 7 vice-regents of Persia and Media, who were part of the king's inner circle and were the most important officials in the kingdom. The king asked the sages, "According to the law, what should we do to Queen Vashti, since she didn't obey the order of King Ahasuerus?" I haven't done this with all the names yet, but Ahasuerus is a main figure, that is the king, whose name in most Christian Bibles, as you see in the right-hand column, is worded as Ahasuerus. The Greek apocryphal text in English refers to him as Artaxerxes. Artaxerxes, Ahasuerus, Ahasuerus, all the same person, the king of Persia. Verse 16. Memucan presented the king and vice-regents this answer: Vashti the queen has wronged not only the king, but also all the officials and all the peoples in all the provinces of King Ahasuerus, because this act of the queen's will become known to all the women, who will then start showing disrespect toward their own husbands. They won't obey them. They will say, King Ahasuerus ordered Vashti the queen to be brought before him, but she wouldn't come. Moreover, the noble ladies of Persia and Media who hear of the queen's conduct will mention it to all the king's officials, which will bring about no end of disrespect and discord. If it pleases his majesty, let him issue a royal decree, and let it be written as one of the laws of the Persians and Medes, which are irrevocable, that Vashti is never again to be admitted into the presence of King Ahasuerus, and that the king give her royal position to someone better than she. When the edict made by the king is proclaimed throughout the length and breadth of the kingdom, then all wives will honor their husbands, whether great or small. Honor. Nice way of saying the women will stay in their place. Verse 21. This advice pleased the king and the officials, so the king did what Memucan had suggested. He sent letters to all the royal provinces, to each province in its own script, and to each people in their own language, that every man should be master in his own house, and speak the language of his own people. So the queen is removed, and more than removed, she is put away as queen and as the wife of the king. Chapter 2. A while later, when King Ahasuerus's anger had subsided, he remembered Vashti, what she had done and what had been decreed against her. The king's servants attending him said, "A search should be made for young, good-looking virgins. The king should appoint officials in all the provinces of the kingdom to gather all the young, good-looking virgins to the house for the harem in Shushan, the capital. They should be put under the care of Haggai, the king's officer in charge of the women, the king's eunuch." It's a little bit different role than king's officer. The king's officer in charge of the women, and he should give them the cosmetics they require. Then the girl who seems best to the king should become queen instead of Vashti. This proposal pleased the king, so he acted accordingly. There was in Shushan, the capital, a man who was a Jew whose name was Mordecai, the son of Jair, the son of Shimi, the son of Kish, Ben Yamini, a Benjaminite. He had been exiled from Jerusalem, with the captives exiled with Jeconiah, king of Yehudah, Jeconiah of Judah, whom Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, had carried off. He had raised Hadassah, that is, Esther, his uncle's daughter, because she had neither father nor mother. The girl was shapely and good-looking. After her father's and mother's death, Mordecai had adopted her as his own daughter. We're going to pause there, and next time we'll pick up at verse 8, but let me just take one more brief moment. Remember, I've mentioned in passing that yes, there are these two versions. And yes, everything that is in the Hebrew is a part of the Greek, but sometimes the things that are in common aren't exactly duplicated. Mordecai and Haman. Oh, this is one of those moments. It's one of those moments that is, warning, a little cringeworthy. Well, no, not a little. The Hebrew version sounds lovely. Mordecai is Esther's uncle. Esther's parents have actually it's even more complicated than that. So what is this? Um, Verse 7, Esther is Mordecai's cousin. Now, that can be a vague term. We don't think of it as vague, but it can be a vague term. But then you look down here. Oh, I'm looking at this again. Okay, no. I take that back. There's, yeah, no, it's pretty clear in the Hebrew here. In yeah, uncle's daughter is what the Hebrew text actually says. So things are pretty clear there. And Mordecai adopts Esther and raises her as his own daughter. That's it. Ready for the cringe? This is the NRSVUE. This is from the Greek version. Okay. She is the daughter of Mordecai's. She is the daughter of Mordecai's father's brother, Aminadab. Her parents died. He took her on as his foster daughter. And with what intent? To make her his wife. Not to be a parent to her, not to raise her as his daughter, but to prepare her to be his wife. That make you cringe a little bit? Makes me cringe a little bit. That's not part of the Hebrew. That's part of the Greek version. Rather significant difference. Just saying. All right. Chapter 2, verse 8. That's where we'll pick up next time. Have a blessed day, dear friend.